A listener production.
Hello, it's Antoinette Lattouf with the Weekend Briefing, where we step away from the headlines, or in this case, talk to someone who became one. Carina Mirabile grew up in Perth, wishing she was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed beach babe instead of an ethnic girl. Fast forward, today she's a reality TV star, she has a fashion label, and she's pretty much a walking content machine. Fresh off Married at First Sight, and yes, that season with the door-punching drama and low-key DV, which we get into, we cover so much in this chat. Beauty ideals, reality television, dating disasters, and what it says when a bloke can have a violent outburst on national television and still be allowed to stay. She's raw, unfiltered, and maybe, just maybe, gearing up for a return on reality television. And don't worry, the weekend list is coming up later with what to watch, eat, do, and listen to. But first, here's my chat with Carina Mirabile. Carina Mirabile, welcome to the Weekend Briefing.
Thank you for having me.
So you've said growing up you wanted to be a white girl. You wanted to have, the blonde hair, the blue eyes. You came from Perth, and that was more, I guess, adjacent to that beach babe in Perth. How do you reflect on that now? And do you still want that blonde hair and blue eyes?
Certainly not. I am so much more content and happy in my own skin. I think it was, again, growing up, going to a really Australian surfy high school, overlooking the ocean.
Yeah.
It was just a part of my upbringing and the area that I lived in. And I really tried so hard to be something that I wasn't, because that's what I saw every day. And, I think there were a few insecurities within myself, or some trigger points, or just like a little bit of self-doubt and a shame of being Italian and growing up in such a big, loud, bubbly household where the biggest, like, every day was our family time, and we would always catch up with family every day, and my friends in my high school were like, it's so unusual that you're spending so much time with your family. And I would always think that, and then I would be like, okay, that's a bit weird.
Yeah.
But reflecting back on it now, no, I love who I am. I love how I was raised. I love everything about my family dynamic and our values and who I am now. And I think it's taken time. It's taken time, and for me to be around different environments and meet different and diverse people and understand that, wow, I'm so lucky and I wouldn't have it any other way, because my family and my family dynamic are so unique and functional that I aspire to have that one day. But it wasn't until I was learning to be in my own skin and seeing that now I live in Bondi Junction, there's so many women that go there to go get their spray tans done, and, they're like, I'm feeling so white, it's winter, I need to look dark. And I'm like, well, I don't have that issue, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm getting more comfortable in my own skin.
I guess, I can empathise with that. It's just wanting to be like everybody else.
Yeah.
And when your family is louder and speaks a different language and you look different and you have hair in places that your friends don't have.
Yes.
And you're like, this is a lot. But when did you think it happened, when you went from, hating being ethnic to owning your identity so publicly? Or was it a slow transition?
A slow transition. I think over time as well. It's the same thing in the tabloids, or I guess who we idolise as influencers or celebrities, and maybe since social media has become such a big talking point in our lives, where there is a lot more diversity, and over time, the Australian beach babes, or the real tall, thin, no curves look kind of changes gradually. I think when I would say the Kardashians took a big...
I know, because it's so problematic. Because on the one hand, the Kardashians, I guess, normalised people who look like you and I more, mainly, our features and our eyes and our skin and our, curvier bodies. But then there's also another hugely problematic side to the Kardashians in that so much of those body ideals are unrealistic. They're aided by surgery, aided by money. And there's nothing wrong with that, but they're not always forthcoming about what it is they do, and beauty lines and money. And so do you feel that tug of as well, where it's like, oh, wow, I kind of see myself there, but also how on earth do you ever look like that.
Yeah, I think that's where we do put a lot of things in our own brains of we have to exercise more. We have to do, certain exercises to get more of an hourglass figure, or, we have to have debloat drinks and have a healthier lifestyle around us kind of thing, or go to these surgical places or go to contouring clinics and that kind of thing. But I think it's got to do with like how strong our mind is, and always implementing the right things for a healthier lifestyle, but also understanding that, yes, seeing what the Kardashians look like isn't necessarily, a guidance.
Like millionaires, if not billionaires, and aided and abetted by.
They're contoured well kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So I think we have to just understand that. But it's definitely taken, I think, a while of me accepting my figure and who I am and how I look and how I was raised. But I honestly would not have it any other way.
And going back to your days in Perth, you studied journalism, you interned in newsrooms, you obviously were interested in celebrity culture and reality television early on because you're popping up in the X Factor, on Dash Dolls. When did you first know that you really wanted to be centre stage in either sort of pop culture or reality TV?
Oh, I honestly think it was from a really young age. I was the baby of 5, and I remember our family was quite artistic in so many ways, where my siblings, loved to paint. My other sisters are big singers, and obviously they were in a band and they were all on Australian Idol. And I remember they're 10 years older than me. I remember when my sister was on Australian Idol and then she did X Factor, we flew over and we were a part of it and we saw how production was. And
so how old would you have been then?
I reckon I was in high school.
Okay.
Yes, but it kind of just seeing how musically talented my siblings were, and they were in productions all throughout high school.
Okay.
And I did the same. So in high school, I went in, and did drama, and I was in the arts department. I've always been more of a creative rather than maybe like studying biology and, that kind of mathematics. I think it was just, a transitional phase, and also watching reality shows growing up, and I was kind of hooked onto it with my sisters, all the different shows. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to do acting. I loved like performance and putting together shows and performing in front of my family growing up. So I think it's been from a very young age where I always wanted to be in front of the camera.
Well, then what do you say, I guess, to people who, they see you on MAFS and they think you kind of popped out of nowhere?
Yeah. Yes.
How different is that to the reality, given that you've lived in multiple countries, you've studied, you've dabbled in lots of different things? Does that frustrate you, that perception that you, I guess,
only went on the show for limelight?
Well, not only that.
Because I get a lot of comments.
Or just that you kind of popped out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That you, and it's not something that you were actually consciously working towards, given your drama at school and all what you studied.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. I think about this on a daily basis because I did not audition for MAFS. I didn't reach out to them. I didn't do the application. It came to me. But my sister and I always have this conversation. She actually listens to a podcast where it was about like it takes 10 years to perfect your craft. And I was like, 10 years, oh my gosh. I was doing an exchange program 10 years ago in 2014-15, and I wanted to live in America and live in LA and be an actress, and I was wanting to do all of that and being in front of the TV and work for a big production company.
So
but
you were there 10 years ago?
I was there studying, and I extended my visa because I was like, I want to make sure I live in America, but I didn't know how to get to that point. I was living there. I did an internship, and then I graduated university back in Australia, and then I moved back to the States on a J1 visa, and I was doing all different things, and I was like, okay, seeing what it's all about, watching the reality shows, going to Pump Bar and going to Casablanca where Lisa Vanderpump from Vanderpump Rules and Real Housewives of Beverly Hills was there every day, and they were just casually hanging out at the restaurant, and I spoke to the bartenders, and I was like, what do you guys do? And they're like, oh, we're aspiring actors, but they work in hospitality. And I'd be like, wow, how'd you get to this point? What do you do? And just ask. So I think it's taken me many, many years, but I think I low-key manifested going on a reality reality show that has opened up so many doors for me, but I didn't intentionally go on a show for the wrong reasons. I generally wanted love and I wanted a relationship. And I feel like this is just the beginning of maybe what my purpose is in life.
Finding love or going on reality television shows?
Both.
Why not both?
Yeah,
like that taco commercial.
I mean, I really did want to go on a reality show to find love, but do I want to go on another reality show? Absolutely, but maybe not a dating one.
Why do you think people are still obsessed with MAFS? Even though we know it's like at best emotionally chaotic, like people are obsessed.
I love how you say chaotic. I don't know. I think because people all want love at the end of the day, or they're dealing with certain parts of relationships or moments in their life where they have maybe been married or they've been in long-term relationships or they're wanting to be in a relationship. So it can cater to so many different people. People can resonate to what the couples are experiencing on the show. I don't know. I think like it's also maybe... Yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question.
I know, just people love to watch it. They love to love it. They love to hate it. They love to. It's wild.
They tune into it. They get addicted. They look forward to their midweek show at 7 p.m.
Yep.
I don't know. I think they can relate, or maybe they're going through similar things,
or maybe they're just bored in their own relationships.
Yeah, they need to zone out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really interesting. I think this season has been the highest watched season of all times.
Well, I guess that's what I'm so fascinated by, because everything else on free-to-air TV is doing this.
Yeah.
But MAFS isn't.
Yeah.
Even the other reality TV shows like The Bachelor, other formulas of love aren't working, but MAFS continues to rate whether it works. I don't know how many people end up finding a relationship.
Yeah.
But let's talk about who you were paired up with, your on-screen husband, Paul, because how small is the dating pool that you get paired up with a guy that you've already been on a date with?
Yeah. How wild is that? Strange. Very strange.
What was your date like?
It was very chilled, very laid back. At the time, I recently broke up with my ex-partner, Paolo. That was his name. How weird is that? Paolo and Paul.
Yep.
Very bizarre. And we both moved back home. Hence, when we were filming MAFS on the show, we filmed at my parents' home because I was still living there because I broke up with my ex. And we moved, back to our parents' house. And it was just such a weird thing. I went on Bumble. I was kind of grieving my relationship. I went on Bumble. I was really bored and lonely. And I never probably would have done that if I don't know. Maybe I should have fled the country. I'm not sure. But everything happens for a reason, right? And we matched on Bumble, and we just gradually, like casually was like, let's catch up. What do you want to do? He asked me, and I was like, let's go for a hike. So I wanted to be very casual. I was like, no, I normally love to get wine and dine and get picked up by the guy. But I was super just like in my eat, pray, love era, but I was bored. So we went on a hike, and the hike went for a couple of hours, and we had 2 coffees, and we had a lot in common. We were just chatting about, like, he's French, so we were chatting about French rap, and he was showing me all the songs he loves in the car. It was super chilled. And then we were messaging again to catch up for a second catch-up date. I don't know what people do these days. And he bailed on me, and I was like, oh, hell no. Yeah. I was meant to catch up with him on a Saturday night, and he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, my friend wants to go to this bar. You can come meet us if you like. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. So I ended up getting ready, and then he messaged me like, I'm so sorry, like my friend just wants a boys' night. I would love to see you tomorrow though. And I was like, all right, bye. I was like, okay, bye. And we didn't even have each other on social media, so I'm not sure how production like could have even put the dots together. Where a lot of people are like, oh, it was scripted, it was made up. No, it wasn't. I was very shocked, but I didn't know what to do when he turned around at the front of the aisle, and I was like, oh, just keep going with it.
I said boy bye in my mind.
I did say boy bye, and I was so confused. I was like, I didn't know how to be. I didn't know how to react, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many logistics and things going on to make this day happen. My whole family flew to Sydney. It was like a lot of moving parts to make today work at the wedding day.
So you just went.
I just went along with it.
But then he becomes more keen on you. Yeah. So from kind of icing you out or being like, oh, I'm going to go out with the boys, he becomes more keen on you. You end up breaking things. But what really made all of the headlines was a pretty violent incident.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable talking about it?
Yeah. I that was a very full-on moment because it was so random. Our relationship was going pretty good from what I thought and from what I was experiencing. You know, we didn't have any drama around us. We were quite boring. It was actually like the first couple of weeks of being in the experiment, and obviously everything was going great in our relationship. Yes, we had a few tasks that came our way, and like the confessions week, and he really opened up to me, and I had to get reassurance from my girlfriend who lives here, and I was like, is this normal? Some things that he's telling me, and openly saying in confessions week that he did swingers with his ex-partner.
Oh, okay.
And he had experienced that before, and I was like, whoa, you've said this on national television. They didn't actually air it though.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, this is full on. That's what actually brought us to the punching the hole in the wall situation.
Right. So he's opening up about his sexual
very
past
open
and interests,
about
which
specifics,
is
who you dated. Yeah. And I was like, okay, that's cool.
Like, and you're like, and I hooked up with this rapper.
Yes. And then it was a very small passing comment in the car with Rhea and Jeff on the way home back to the apartments. And yeah, we were all had such a great day. I remember it was so much fun, and we were drinking and, you know, enjoying Sydney because we were from Perth and they were from Melbourne, Rhea and Jeff. And, you know, I said something just random, and he really like got upset about the comment that I made, but he didn't, you know, make a fuss about it in the Uber. It wasn't until we got home where his whole aura had changed, and the energy, and just being really upset, and I went quiet, and I was like, oh no. And I was like, oh, what's going on? And I was trying to discuss the situation and how I made him feel and why he was upset, and I was trying to suppress it and trying to put an end to it because in my past relationship, when we got into an argument, we would both go to bed angry at one another and not discuss the fight.
So you're trying to process it and talk
Yes,
talk it
I'm
through.
trying to make sure we don't wake up the next morning and we're grumpy and angry at one another. I wanted a good night's sleep. Like, you have to kind of squish anything that's making you feel uncomfortable in a relationship and put it to bed, and then say you both care about each other, good night, and sleep well, and then you have a good sleep. You know, and learning from past experiences.
What happened?
He did not want a bar of that. He just needed some time out. He, you know, didn't want to discuss it. And I was like, but why? Like, and then I was trying to explain the reasoning as to like, and I was being apologetic, and I was.
But what are you apologising for?
For that comment that I made. Yes.
What was to apologise though?
Well, that's what was going on in my brain. I was like, is this that bad? Like, why are you being so reactive? And then I was like trying to calm him down, and it was like a ticking time bomb. He was just so worked up.
Were you scared at any point?
Not really. I wasn't scared. I was like, oh, like this, you know, this is getting serious, but is it serious? Like, he's making it more serious, and I was just getting a bit worried in that sense. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know. Like, this is not a normal environment as is. Like, it's really a production studio, right?
And the cameras are on while all this is happening?
Nothing. It wasn't even on air. That's the thing. He brought it to cameras. He brought it to light. He brought it to air. So I then was thinking, because your brain is warped, because you're like, what's real life and what is for a TV show? That in those in the environment, in the apartments, it technically is a production studio, TV set. And as much as you try to get involved in the relationship and try and make it real, it's very difficult. Like, you don't know what's real and what's not real. And you're already moving at a really fast-paced environment where every second of the day you're getting asked, how do you feel about your relationship?
And you married him when you first saw him.
Yes, exactly. So, you know, it's so random. It's so, I didn't even think about that kind of stuff. And like, everything is so fast-paced.
Okay, so what happened in the seconds leading up to him punching the door or the wall?
Yes, we were laying in bed. So he went out, did his thing. He took some time to cool off. He spoke to House AP, you know, little mini therapy session at midnight, and he went and got his Maccas. So he needed time to cool off. Then he comes back, and we, again, try to discuss what's going on. I'm being apologetic. He's still not okay. And I was like, let's just go to bed. Let's go to bed. So I got into bed, and then he was still on the balcony, like, so dramatic. I was like, fuck, what is going on here? This is really weird. Anyway, so then he comes to bed and he's just like laying there like a tin soldier, huffing and puffing. And I was like, what is going on? I was like, are you okay? And I was like, let's discuss this. And then he didn't like that. And I was like, he goes, I need to go for another walk. And I was like, wow. I was like, are you for real? Like, we have to get up soon. We have call time kind of thing. Let's just have a good sleep. And he just didn't want a bar of that. And I said, you know what? I was like, oh, good. I'm going to bed. And I turned over, and then that's what made him just bang. He just got so angry, and he got up and he punched the wall in our bedroom. Yeah, the door.
Yeah, the door. How did you feel in that moment?
I was shocked, and I was like, what the hell just happened? I was like, is this guy for real? Is this? I was shocked. I was in shock. I was in complete shock.
Were you shocked that he was then allowed to stay on the show?
We had a really big chat to production. So the head of production team came the next day and had a meeting with us, and everyone was full on about it. Like, it was for real. Like, this is very serious. I don't think he understood how serious the situation was, especially in an environment like this. Like, wow.
But even like more broadly, like we're talking more about domestic violence, where we know how many women are harmed by domestic violence each week. Like, looking back at it now, do you think that the show had a duty to take a stand on it?
Yeah, of course. And they put a lot of protocols in place where they made him do therapy every week. So he had a certain day on a Saturday morning where he did therapy, and he spoke to this person and spoke about what he was going through and how he was feeling. He wasn't allowed to drink while we were filming at all, so he was banned. And a lot of people argued up about that because he had like the zero alcohol beer, and the people were arcing up about that in watching it all and being like, what's that in his hand? I thought he's not allowed to drink alcohol, and it was just like a fake beer. I don't even know what it's called. Yeah. And but no, I think, they definitely they came down hard on us.
But you still had to share a room with him.
But I was very, they asked all the questions. They were like, are you unsafe? No, I didn't feel unsafe at all. And he showed like a lot of remorse, and he was a complete different person. And then I think the week after, or the 2 weeks after, we had our friends and family come and visit, and he fully just opened up to them and was super apologetic and explained everything to them, got the reassurance from them. He also we both were like in a weird place when we went to the couples retreat. So he was quite down, and you could tell that he wasn't his normal self. Like, he was very like, down about his behavior and what had happened, and I think ashamed about what he did. So yeah, he definitely showed a lot of remorse, and he made up for it, but he was very obedient with everything, with the whole production side, with himself. And yeah, I think he just got maybe a bit carried away thinking that he had to put on an act or something, or like create drama for a storyline.
But you're saying the cameras weren't on though?
They weren't. So he brought it into.
Yeah, so then you were saying if he thought he had to the cameras weren't on when he punched the door.
No, but he made a scene for House AP to know that something's going on. And then the next day, everyone found out about it, the producers, everyone.
Did that contribute in a large way to your decision to end the relationship?
Yeah, it's a really hard one because living in the experiment it's a pressure cooker environment. Like, you are so out of your normality and out of routine. And I guess
it's hard for someone like me or an audience member to really understand, because I'd be like, girl, that's a boy-bye situation.
But then you also, like, my train of thought is that you're going into the dinner parties every week. Like, I couldn't even imagine feeling what it would feel like to be like Jackie and Ryan and be in a house or an apartment with someone that you really do not get along with and you cannot stand, and it's toxic. You live with that person. Like, it's a very, I couldn't even imagine it if you don't get along with that person. Whereas Paul and I actually got along with each other really, really well. We lived great together. We had very similar interests. Like, I was super reliant on him because it's a scary situation. Yeah. You're dealing with a lot. Like, I was quite timid, and I was, getting in those cars. You're fully mic'd up, going to the commitment ceremonies, going to the dinner parties. You're sitting on a couch for an hour and a half, quite exhausted because you're running off 5 hours sleep and, you're from the dinner party the night before. Your idea is super warped and your personality, and you're just drained. And, I felt quite intimidating sitting in front of the experts where these people have had, 30 plus years on you about relationships and love life. And they just, they really put you in your place. And it's quite intimidating. It is. And everyone else sitting on the couches, all the other contributors, that's what we had to call everyone, are just analyzing your relationship. Yeah. And then they can speak as well. They can, get involved in your relationship. And I'm just like, this is, the camera crews there, all the audio, the producers, like it was full on. It was a big thing. So of course we lived so well together. We got along. I wanted him right by my side because I felt more comfortable sitting in those tents for hours. You want your partner by your side. Well, I did. And we got along. And I was just being optimistic about the future. And I was like, no, this is a reflection of real life relationship where you do go through hurdles in a 20, 30-year marriage. My parents have been together for 48 years this year. They've gone through hardships, and I was like, maybe this is just all part of a relationship. I don't know. Yeah. But the biggest red flag for me was the final task, grass is green on the other side, and him saying yes to meeting another woman and going on a date. That really mind blew me. I was like, what? It shook me up. I was like, nah, this is the final straw.
So that was the red line for you that he crossed. Yeah. Not the violent outburst.
Well, that was a contributor. Okay, it was because I was just suppressing the whole thing that happened. I was shocked, but then I was like, what just happened? Yeah. I didn't understand. I don't think I was understanding until other people outside of my little brain or my brain was like, no, this isn't normal behavior, Carina. Yeah. They kind of woke me up and they were like, this is a form of DV. This is just the beginning. Yeah. It could get worse. And I was like, I don't even know what DV is. I needed to be educated.
And I guess that's the thing about domestic violence. For so long, the narrative has been, he was just angry. Yeah. He was letting off steam, and all that you did, trying to placate him. Yeah. I grew up with a lot of DV, and I was also conditioned to believe that that's what you did. You were like, well, if they're in a bad mood, you try and do what you can to get them out of that bad mood. And there's a lot of acrobatics, emotional, physical, psychological acrobatics that we do as women to try and go, oh, okay, well then maybe if we don't say this, we don't do that, then they won't get that angry. But the conversation really needs to shift on, well, they need tools to manage their own anger and process their emotions that doesn't frighten or harm other people.
Yes. And again, still learning about that and trying to educate myself and open my eyes more because, again, we are conditioned from a young age. I think also like maybe being European, and that's what I was saying to the experts, and they're like, no, Carina, that is not okay.
Yeah, like, just a hot-tempered.
Like hot-tempered. I'm Italian. I'm Sicilian. I can, go from 0 to 100 as well. So I was just suppressing.
So that's cultural elements as well.
Yes. And it wasn't until the experts opened my eyes. They stated statistical facts about domestic violence in Australia, and I was like, whoa. Yeah. And it's even Paul harrowing as well. He was really, his eyes fully open. He didn't understand in the moment how big this is.
Yeah, and because men as well need the tools and the understanding and the education to process what it is they're feeling in a healthy way. Because, again, they've been conditioned to be like, oh, well, boys will be boys. Macho, they're just getting angry and be really macho and be really strong. And, you show you love a woman because you're really protective and possessive over her. It's like, oh, no, that's not
okay.
Healthy.
So, again, it wasn't until the experts really opened our eyes and was like, no, this is not normal behavior. Here are some tools for you to seek help and figure out why you acted this way, or you can kind of be in more of a healthy relationship. And also for me to figure out as well, like, do I just really want love deep down, and like I let things go and I let this type of behavior just continue. I don't like it's all a big learning curve for me, and deep down all I want is love. So I I just kept going and kept going because I didn't feel unsafe in that apartment. It wasn't until, some other tasks came our way and I was like, wait, what is going on? Okay, we are not aligning. We're not the people for one another.
The MAFS rumour mill suggests that you might be back in 2026. You say you want to find love and that you want to go back on reality TV. Do you have anything to share?
I mean, I haven't got a call yet, but I would be very open. No, I'm kidding. I don't think I can do another dating reality show. It's not in me. It was a lot. It was very emotionally triggering and draining, and every day speaking about your feelings. Yeah. Morning.
I'm sorry, I'm making you do it again.
No, that's okay. No, it's very draining, and it was, a pressure cooker environment. It's a long time of filming. Yeah. I think it was like 4.5 months all up. And even when our relationship was going really well, because he would take me on dates on the weekend and we would be exploring Sydney, and we got along really well doing things that we loved to do together, which was great because they encourage that. The producers encourage you to spend time outside the filming days to get to know one another. And that was great on all those terms, but it was still draining. I remember Ree would message me and be like, how are you feeling in the morning? I'm like, I'm exhausted. I'm drained. She goes, same. And their relationship was going well. Our relationship was going well. But I think just the environment is so fast paced and it's a very controlled environment. Like you cannot just go out and go for a run or go do your workout class at 8 a.m. No, you have to ask for permission. They need to schedule your appointment in. You can't even leave your apartment building at all to go downstairs and get a coffee. You open the door where your apartment is and you look down the hallway and it's literally cameras, tripods set up. They might not even allow you to walk out because they're filming something. So it was a very controlled environment, and although it was an amazing experience and I loved that side of TV and meeting all the producers and the camera crew and everything, they become your family, you know. They would come into your apartment. We would offer them cookies or muffins.
Well, speaking of family, how did your big fat wog family respond?
Tough. Yeah, my dad really now still thinks that I'm never going to settle down. He's like, no man's ever going to want to properly marry her now. And I was like, thanks, Dad. Thanks so much. Look, when I got poached for the show and I was doing some of the interviews, I didn't tell my family at first. And then it wasn't until like maybe the third interview, because it's a long process. I told my family at the dinner table, a family night dinner, and my sister was like, oh, stop it. I love that show. So her and her husband watch it religiously. I have never watched the show in my life, and I can hand on my heart say that I have never watched the show.
Not even when you were on it?
When I was on it, I was glued to the TV. I was like, I need to be home for 7 o'clock.
Okay, but the previous seasons you'd never watched.
No, never watched. But no, they weren't too fond about it. Mum was like, oh, no, you cannot do that. What does this mean? And I was like, Mum, and they actually want to film in the house, and production want to come here. They want like to do a big Italian feast. And Mum was like, oh, I don't want to be on TV. And I was like, Mummy, low-key do. Like, come on, you know? And I was like, this could be it. This could be the one. And Dad was like, I'm going overseas for work because we have a family business. He's like, nope, I'm not going to be in town. Sorry. And I was like, Dad, no, come on. And it took him a little bit of time over like a few weeks for him to come around to the idea. And then he at first was like, I was like, production, you know, the idea that they created was a big European style wedding, and I was like, I want like the vintage, Dolce Gabbana themed, because they asked for like your styles, send a Pinterest theme of like your wedding, your dream wedding. So I sent that to my producer, and I was like Dolce Gabbana, like a Italian wedding, and they were like, we want to fly your family over for the wedding day. We want your Zia there, so my auntie and my cousin. And I was like, okay, amazing, you know. And my dad, and then my producer was like, would your dad walk you down the aisle? And I was like, I think so. I asked Dad, and he goes, I'm not doing that. No. And then he came around to it and he walked me down the aisle. So at first they were a bit hesitant, and then I spoke to my sisters about it and my mum and really sat down with them, and Mum was like, you know what, Carina, you need, just do it. Just do this experience.
They came round.
Like figure it out.
this whole process has obviously been quite life-changing
Yeah.
for you, quite chaotic, which also inspired
Yeah.
the name of your podcast.
Yes, yeah.
This is Chaos. Shout out to your
Yeah.
co-host, Jacob, who's
Yes,
sitting
yeah.
outside.
Jacob Muller.
Do you want to tell me about the genesis of yours and Jacob's relationship and how this podcast came to being?
Absolutely.
And very strange that I also know Jacob. He's also done my hair. He's a magician.
He is very talented. That's all I'm saying. It was so random how our relationship came about. So I went to Sydney back in 2023, the end of the year. My girlfriend, her partner at the time, was like, just come to Sydney. I'd just broken up with my ex-partner. And I was like, I need to get out of Perth. So I was going to an event here in Sydney and I wanted him to do my hair and I followed him on Instagram. I was like very fond of his page and the work he does. He's like a magician. And so I reached out to him and he was fully booked. So I was like, that's okay, I'll do my own hair. And it wasn't until like 7 months later in July when I got flown out for the hens party, I had to organize everything within a week. It was full on from signing the contract. They literally were like, get bang, 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 bang. And I messaged him. I was like, do you mind doing my hair and can you organize a makeup artist? It's for this, this and this, but I couldn't tell him anything at all. He had no idea about us. I just said it needs to be for TV. So obviously they have to cater specifically for being in front of the camera. And he had no idea. Michael, our makeup artist, had no idea.
Who's also done my makeup. Michael J.
Yeah, yes. Oh my God.
Such a small world.
This is a really small world.
This is very strange. Yeah.
And then I organized, so he did my hair and makeup. And then I organized him the week and a half later. I flew back. It was like a small transition from the hens party to the actual wedding day. And I was like, are you able to do my mum, my sisters and my in-laws makeup and hair for again, another event? And he was like, oh, hell no. He was like, what's going on here? And he put two and two together. And then he messaged me after the wedding. He was like, I would love to do your hair and makeup throughout the whole season. And that's how our friendship blossomed. And every week for our dinner parties, he did my hair and Vincent did my makeup. And it was like insane. And he would always get content and he was just casually posting content. He had to wait 7 months until it was starting to air. And he really jumped on the wagon of like putting his magic out there. Yeah. And then we were filming content recently a few months ago. And he mentioned, he was asking all these questions because, you know, a lot of fans and viewers of the show were commenting on his posts about what was going on the show and they wanted answers. So he was like, let's make a Q&A, let's film it and let's answer what the viewers and the fans are wanting. So while we were doing that, he was like, wait, should we make a podcast out of this? Then our producers caught on our current producers now who had followed us at the time was caught on to our idea of a podcast. He thought we were just going to do it in his studio. We were just going to get Rode mics, like make it really casual and not professional one bit.
Because honestly, you share so much and often trust so much when it comes to a hairdresser. I feel like when you sit in there, it's like a therapy chair and so often the relationship gets really deep very quickly.
Yes, he was like the third wheel while we were filming. Obviously, I couldn't go into specifics and I was very cautious of that. Then the podcast transitioned to This is Chaos. It's where, you know, Jacob being in a hair salon where the chair collides with being on a couch. So, it's just the beginning for us. You know, we only just launched it and, you know, we are loving it so far. It's going great.
And how's love going for you and finding love?
Non-existent. Okay. Non-existent. I think I've just really been focusing on the podcast, continuing to build the friendship with Jacob. We are probably dating one another, to be fair. He's my partner at the moment. No, we are besties and we just vibe each other's company. And, you know, he is my family here because I don't have my family here in Sydney with me. But I think, you know, my life has completely changed since the show has aired and finished airing, and to this day my inbox is blowing up full of compliments and comments about how I handled the experiment with Paul. And, you know, these comments are coming from places all over the world, in Belgium,
right.
in the UK, in Italy. You know, the fan bases in Italy is insane, and also here.
So you can go back to mum and dad and Zia and be like, look, see, like even Italians love it.
Literally they do, and a lot of people mention that. You know, even that are messaging me or I meet in person and come up and ask for photos, and they're like, you know, I'm Italian as well, and I can really resonate, and I loved watching you and your family on the show, and I'm like, oh my God, I love that because, you know, the world needs more diversity, and it's such a beautiful thing, all these different cultures coming together. All the cultures really do make Australia one. So it's nice to, have that, and I'm so honoured and grateful to be European and be Italian. Like, it's insane. But I love what we've created, Jacob and myself, and it's just the beginning for us. So no, there is no love at the moment. I've just really been focusing and enjoying this whirlwind journey that's coming my way, and, you know, doing appearances with the rest of the co-stars of this year's MAFS, and focusing on my podcast and my label Mirab.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I wish you the best. Can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
That was Antoinette and Carina there, and you can catch Carina's new podcast, This Is Chaos. It's out now. It is time for the weekend list, where we recommend what to eat, watch, do, and everything in between. I'm joined again by Chris Spyrou, one of our hosts of The Briefing. Chris, what's your first recommendation?
Hello, Helen, and hello, Weekend Briefing listeners. Always a pleasure, never a chore being here. Look, my first recommendation is actually QV Baby Bath Oil.
Okay.
And it's not even for you. It is for your pet. If you have a dog or a cat.
Okay. I'm like, what?
Yeah, sorry, I wanted to hook you in. Yeah. So, you know, I've been dabbling with naturopathy for my dog at the moment.
Yes, your dog, if Chris's dog gets treated better than most humans. This dog gets acupuncture,
Correct.
physio or something.
Sometimes.
What, like massage lady?
Yep.
This dog is treated like a queen.
Debatable. But look, she's got very problematic skin. She's a dog that has dermatitis. She has a very rough coat. If you've got a dog that's like Sammy with a little bit of eczema, dermatitis and stuff like that, and you notice that their coat is incredibly dry or is increasingly getting drier, all you have to do, that's right, all you do is you get a little cap of baby bath oil, QV baby bath oil to be specific, and after you've done a little wash, you just pour that on and you rub it in and you let it dry. This was the recommendation provided to me by, he's like a hybrid vet naturopath. So he does have all the veterinary credentials, but it actually works. Sammy is so shiny and smooth at the moment, and there is no better feeling than like when someone pats your dog and they're like, oh, she's so fluffy and soft. Nice. Whereas when, you know, they're not, it's so humiliating because no one wants a dirty dog.
Dog shampoos or like dog products can sometimes be really expensive if you're buying them at the vet. So that is kind of a hack. If your dog has sensitive skin, for the dogs with sensitive skin out there. Now, my recommendation.
It's a very niche demographic, but hey, take that advice into tomorrow, guys. I swear you will use it.
Okay. My first recommendation is on Netflix.
Yes.
It's the new season of America's Sweethearts, Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah. So it's season 2.
Yep.
And so this season primarily focuses a lot on pay and money, which was brought up in season 1. Now, I'll give you a little bit of a recap. The first season kind of took us behind the scenes of the series. It focused on the footballers' favourite cheer squad, which is the Dallas Cowboy Cheer Squad. The Dallas Cowboys are worth billions of dollars. So this is why pay kind of came up, and the internet had their opinions, and fair as they should, because these cheerleaders were getting paid literally nothing. It was reports of maybe $500 a game out of which is not a lot. So all of these cheerleaders we saw in the first season, some of them are full-time nurses. They're
and they're Netflix stars.
And they're full-time cheerleaders, professional athletes.
Offensive.
Yes. So that is what the internet kind of said. But that was the first season. We kind of we met some of the rookies. We met the process. We saw how it works, how they choose the 36 best dancers to be in this cheer squad, right? The second season picks up right at the start of the NFL 2024-2025 season, and it dives look, I know it's about cheerleaders. I know it's about pretty fluffy stuff.
Whoa, don't undersell it.
Yeah. I don't know. Some of the themes in the first season, I feel like they skirted over the top of a few things like, hey, is this a feminist thing to do?
They could have been going a little deeper.
They could have been going a little bit deeper. And they did that in the second season.
Very good.
They actually touched on quite serious topics like navigating body image issues, social media scrutiny, because a lot of them became massive stars overnight. And then also even domestic violence and mental health came up in this season. Yeah, so it got really serious. And I think some really good themes were highlighted in this season, in particular one that the girls always have to be perfect. They're always told to be perfect and they have to represent the brand and X, Y, Z. Meanwhile, they're working like 1 million hours in a week.
Yeah.
And it kind of gave you a deeper dive, which I think fans were liking. And at the same time, it did leave you still wondering, how are these women treated like second par when it comes to pay? And you find out towards the end, and this is what all the headlines were with the 400% pay increase. So the season, as problematic as some of the scenes are, it has came with a really good result for these dancers and professional dancers throughout the US and the world to be taken seriously. Yeah. So I definitely recommend, if you haven't watched season 1, go back and watch that. Watch this one. It's a little bit of escapism and it's on Netflix. And yeah, I loved it.
Oh, that's so exciting. Look, I've never watched it. I have seen a bunch of the clips and I do love seeing that.
It's amazing. They're so talented.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good. My recommendation number 2 is I'm seeking the advice of our listeners.
Yeah.
I'm in the market for new shoes.
Okay.
And we've spoken about this.
Yes.
I want to dabble in the world of New Balance. So those are the chunky sneakers. They were
these are the ones that I told you all the eastern suburb girlies were wearing last year.
Correct. That's the one.
Correct.
So 12 months late to the piece. But what I want to say is during the 2000s and the 90s, no one was cool and was wearing New Balance. Like New Balance were the lame shoe to be wearing.
Dads,
they
like
were the
dads
dad shoes.
Jeans.
Yes, my dad had New Balances. My uncles had New Balances. No one wanted New Balances. But they've done this like master rebrand.
And PR rebrand. It's amazing.
They're cool
They
now,
are cool now.
They're actually cool.
This is kind of what happens with trends, right? The 2000s of Y2K, they kind of all come back. So what is your recommendation?
I need the listeners to get in touch with us to let me know whether or not I should be buying myself a pair of New Balances before I leave for Europe next month. And then is this shoe too chunky to take abroad? Like, is it just cool in Australia now, but it's going to be lame overseas? Am I going to be mocked because I'm having the same existential crisis about my Crocs? Do I take my Crocs overseas? Like here, they're kind of acceptable. Overseas, it's kind of like,
I think you just need fashion advice.
I do need, yes.
So your recommendation this week is for any listeners to reach out to us and let us know, are New Balances worth it? Do you own them? Also, are Crocs acceptable in Europe?
And then I understand that things are unisex these days, but is it lame for a man to be walking around in Crocs in the middle of a European summer?
I don't think so.
And is it also lame for me to be repping New Balances?
No, I don't think so.
Because you said the eastern suburb girlies.
Oh, yeah, the ones that you showed me,
I've made a grave error. But yeah, please, if you're listening on Spotify, reach out in the comments or get in touch with us at The Briefing Podcast on Instagram. I gots to know. Yeah.
Well, good recommendation.
I don't know. Why do we steer it to be that way? I love it. Let's leverage the smartness of our listeners.
Yes, I agree. My second recommendation is from Harris Farm. Now, I never go to Harris.
That.
No, I never go. It's so expensive.
You've spoken so much
I'm an
about
Aldi girl.
You are an Aldi girlie, but you've spoken so much about
only
Harris
because
Farm.
of their flowers.
Oh, yes.
So, my recommendation is Harris Farm flowers. Hear me out. You would think they're so expensive. They are not.
Oh.
They have a specials bin all the time. I got a beautiful bunch of lilies, $10. Massive. They would have been $50 usually, at a normal place. But then even their regular flowers, so good. They were so cheap and beautiful flowers. Now, don't know about going inside the store because very expensive.
I've never
it's bougie. It's
I've
bougie.
actually never been.
It's too bougie.
Yeah.
But their flowers, if you're looking for cheap flowers that are nice, and check out their special bin, it beats Woolies and Coles hands down.
Very good.
Obviously, Aldi still has the $8 flower bin that I love, like for the $8 little lilies. But the ones that I got from
That really just
Harris
rolled
Farm.
off your tongue. The little lily.
Well, the ones that I got from Harris Farm, $10, and they were massive. And I surprised my mum with them, and she loved them.
Oh, very good, because my next question was going to be like, who are you buying lilies for?
Firstly, me.
Because I didn't get any on my
I
desk.
buy every week for myself.
Oh.
$8 lilies.
Really?
Yeah, or every second week. It's my gift to myself.
Oh, I love learning more about you. Very Miley Cyrus of you. We
Yes,
love it.
It was great. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for being with us as well. We hope you enjoyed this chat with Antoinette and Carina. And you can share this ep with someone else who you think might enjoy it as well. It is one of the easiest ways you can support everything we do here at The Briefing, and you can follow us on Instagram at The Briefing Podcast. Until then, we'll be back on Monday morning where the team will have the latest headlines and some deep dives. I'm Helen Smith. Catch you next time.
Listener.